The NBA is filled with incredible talent, but some players had to escape dangerous environments before making it big. Many grew up in neighborhoods where gangs, violence, and crime were a daily reality. Some managed to leave that life behind, while others couldn't escape their past. Today, we're looking at 5 NBA players who had real connections to gangs. Stay tuned until the end, because some of these stories are shocking. Now, let's get started. Number 1, Zach Randolph. Zach Randolph, also known as Zebo, was one of the toughest players in the NBA, but that toughness came from his upbringing in Marion, Indiana. Growing up in a crime-heavy neighborhood, Randolph was surrounded by gangs and got into plenty of trouble as a teenager. Even as an NBA star, his name was linked to street activity. In 2017, he was arrested in Los Angeles for marijuana possession, and police claimed he was connected to a gang. Randolph denied it, but the rumors never fully went away. Despite the controversy, he built a successful career, becoming a 2-time All-Star and a Memphis Grizzlies legend. But his reputation as one of the NBA's realest tough guys wasn't just about basketball. It came from real-life experiences in the streets. Number 2, Javaris Crittenton. Javaris Crittenton's story is one of the most tragic in NBA history. A former first-round pick, he had the talent to be great, but his life off the court was filled with bad decisions. Most fans remember him for the infamous 2009 locker room gun incident with Gilbert Arenas while playing for the Washington Wizards. But that was just the beginning. After his NBA career ended, Crittenton's street ties caught up with him. In 2011, he was arrested for the murder of a woman in Atlanta in what police described as a gang-related shooting. Authorities said he was targeting someone else in retaliation for a robbery, but hit an innocent bystander instead. He later pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 23 years in prison, throwing away everything he had worked for. His story is a chilling reminder of how past connections can come back to haunt you, no matter how much success you achieve. Number 3, Allen Iverson. Allen Iverson is one of the most legendary players in NBA history, but his early years were filled with struggles. Growing up in Hampton, Virginia, Iverson was surrounded by gangs, crime, and violence. Many of his childhood friends were involved in the streets, and at times, it seemed like Iverson was headed down that same path. At just 17 years old, Iverson was arrested after a massive fight broke out at a bowling alley. He was sentenced to 5 years in prison, but the conviction was later overturned. Still, the incident was a wake-up call. Even in the NBA, his street ties never fully disappeared. He was known for his rebellious attitude, flashy lifestyle, and love for hip-hop culture, which made some people question if he had left that life behind. But despite all the controversy, Iverson became an MVP, a Hall of Famer, and one of the most influential athletes of all time. His story proves that you can come from the roughest background and still achieve greatness if you're determined enough. Number 4, J.R. Smith. J.R. Smith was known for his insane athleticism and wild personality, but his connections to the streets ran deeper than most people realized. Growing up in New Jersey, he was surrounded by gang culture. Though he never officially joined a gang, he was always close to that lifestyle. One of the darkest moments in his life came in 2007 when he was involved in a car crash that killed his best friend, Andre Bell. Smith was charged with reckless driving, and the tragedy haunted him for years. Throughout his NBA career, he had multiple off-court issues, including fights, reckless driving arrests, and nightclub altercations. While he eventually matured and became an NBA champion with the Cleveland Cavaliers, his journey to success was filled with turbulence. J.R. Smith is a reminder that talent alone isn't enough. Your choices off the court matter just as much as your skills on it. Number 5, Deshaun Stevenson. Deshaun Stevenson had a reputation as a tough, no-nonsense player in the NBA, and that toughness came from his rough upbringing in Fresno, California. Raised in a crime-heavy environment, Stevenson was surrounded by gangs and violence from an early age. His father was in prison for most of his life, forcing him to grow up fast. While he never officially joined a gang, he was constantly surrounded by that world. Throughout his career, he had multiple legal issues, including fights, weapons charges, and other off-court incidents. Despite all that, he managed to carve out a solid NBA career, winning an NBA championship with the Dallas Mavericks in 2011. He was never the biggest star, but his toughness and fearless attitude made him a respected player. 7 horas e 30, outro. These 5 players came from dangerous backgrounds, and some of them couldn't escape their past, while others used basketball to change their lives. What do you think about their stories? Do you believe street ties should be left behind once someone makes it to the NBA? Let us know in the comments.